Hello, horror lovers! Welcome to today's dose of daily horror. Today, we'll share with you a horrifying story that took place in Madrid 10 years ago. The protagonist is Juan, a calm and shy kid who always looked forward for his classes to end so he could spend hours and hours playing his video games. The school year had just started and only 1 week had passed. Juan was new in that school. It was difficult for him to connect with others, and nobody even knew his name. He was enduring one more boring morning on his desk and couldn't think of anything besides going back home to play his video games. He had math, English, Spanish, and finally chemistry. And when the bell rang, indicating that the children could finally go home, he rushed out of there without even thinking. However, in the middle of his way back home, he started to feel cold. Indeed, he had left his coat in the classroom. He knew his parents would ground him if he came back without his coat, so he turned back and rushed to the school, hoping his lunch at home wouldn't get cold. He went into the classroom, grabbed his coat, and when he turned around to close the door, he found a notebook thrown by the side of the trash bin. He quickly grabbed it and looked for a name on the cover. Maybe if he figured out who was the owner, he could become friends with that person. He found no names on the cover, so he opened the first page where he found 2 last names, Martinez Alvarez. Since he knew he wouldn't be able to ask who was the owner due to his shyness, he went to see if the principal was still there. Juan went into his office and asked the principal if he knew anyone with the last names Martinez Alvarez. But he didn't remember anyone having those 2 last names in years. Which was very strange, since the principal knew every student who was currently going to that school. Intrigued, the principal then decided to verify the registries, checking year after year, and feeling more and more puzzled as he went on. He concluded that there had been no student with those 2 last names in the last 25 years. Which is precisely when Juan's mother studied there. It was a former student who, out of the blue and with no previous notice, moved away with his entire family. So much time had passed that his name was barely legible in the registries. Juan finally arrived home, and after being scolded for arriving late and after his lunch got cold, he asked his mother about what the principal had said. She perfectly remembered the last names Martinez Alvarez and even described his face. In fact, her son was physically similar to the image she remembered, but she had forgotten the first name completely. As much as she tried to remember, she couldn't remember that first name. However, what she did manage to remember was the last day of Martinez Alvarez. It was a very normal day. He was a very quiet child who never caused trouble in class. She never saw him having a conversation with anyone either, unless it was to answer a question from a teacher. Then one day, in the last period, he asked to go to the toilet and never came back. Nobody knew what happened to him, and after calling his family for days and hearing nothing back, they simply assumed that he suddenly had to move due to circumstances beyond their control, and nobody ever talked about that again. The next morning, Juan took the notebook to class and spent the whole day looking at its pages. He didn't know why he hadn't done that before. All the exercises were complete and impeccable, just like his. And in that moment, due to the uncertainty of not knowing the name of Martinez Alvarez, and out of impulse, he wrote in the notebook right before those 2 last names, Juan Martinez Alvarez. Then the last period came, and although he went to the toilet during recess, he suddenly felt an urgent need to go again. So, before the teacher started the class, he approached him with embarrassment and asked him if he could go. As soon as Juan heard yes, he rushed to the toilet, leaving his backpack in the classroom. He had been checking the notebook during his change of classes, and without realizing it, he had brought the notebook with him. There, the last place where Martinez Alvarez ever was in, was also the last place Juan ever was in. Nobody ever heard from Juan nor his family again. Everyone assumed that he simply moved out due to circumstances beyond their control. And eventually, everyone forgot his name. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!